Yes, it is time for World Cup qualifying once again, and you have come to the right place. On today's episode, we'll be going over Iran's roster and previewing the upcoming qualifier against Lebanon. You know the deal, and you know what time it is. It's time for Team Melli Talk. The alarm bells are ringing right before Iran has crucial World Cup qualifiers coming up against Lebanon and Syria. Hey everyone, glad you're back for some more Team Melli Talk. I know you're ready for some more World Cup qualifiers, but first let's take a look at the list of players called up by Dragan Skočić. First, the goalkeepers Ali Reza Bayramvand, Amir Abidzadeh, and Payam Niazmand. No surprise once again, and despite Amir Abidzadeh's recent good form in Spain, I still expect to see Ali Reza Bayramvand starting against Lebanon and Syria. Next, the center backs, Shoja Khalilzadeh, Hossein Kanani, Siavash Yazdani, and Majid Hosseini. The same players at this position called up once again, and I do expect Dragan Skočić to go with Shoja Khalilzadeh and Hossein Kanani once again. Next, the wingbacks, Sadegh Moharrami, Milad Mohammadi, Saleh Hardani, and Omid Nurafkan. Now let's make something clear. Sadegh Moharrami is obviously the guy at the right back position. But when it comes to the left back, I feel like we're going to be playing this guessing game once again as to who will be starting, whether it'll be Omid Nurafkan or maybe Vahid Amiri. And of course, for my preference, I got to go with Omid Nurafkan of Sepahan. Now for the midfielders, Saeed Ezatullahi, Ahmad Nurullahi, Ehsan Hajsafi, Vahid Amiri, and Milad Sarlak. No change with the midfielders, and obviously it seems like Dragan Skočić is comfortable with these 5 players that he has called up. But I think we can expect to see Ehsan Hajsafi and possibly Milad Sarlak being brought on as substitutes as long as Iran is in a position to preserve a victory or a draw. Now for the wingers / attacking midfielders, Ali Reza Jahanbash, Saman Godus, Ali Golizadeh, Mehdi Gaedi, Mehdi Torabi, Yasin Salmani, and Soroush Rafieh. Now, out of all these players, the biggest surprise obviously is Soroush Rafieh, attacking midfielder from Sepahan. And he represented Iran at the 2015 Asian Cup in Australia, but he's only been capped 5 times for Iran. Now, switching gears a bit, I'm hoping that we'll finally see Saman Godus return to the starting lineup for Iran. Now, let me just emphasize the key word here is hope. Last but not least, the forwards. Sardar Azmoun, Alayar Sayed Manesh, Karim Ansari Fard, and Kaveh Rezai. Yes, it is wonderful to see Alayar Sayed Manesh back with Iran, but the biggest shock is obviously the fact that Mehdi Taremi has been excluded from this list. But we'll go into further detail about this later. Lebanon is currently 3rd in the group with 5 points and coming off a huge 3-2 victory over Syria. In the last meeting between Iran and Lebanon in World Cup qualifying, Iran came away with a 4-0 victory, but we also have to remember that that match was played at the Azadi Stadium in Tehran. The last time Iran and Lebanon played in a World Cup qualifier in Lebanon, though, it was Lebanon that came away with a shocking 1-0 upset that left Iranian football fans surprised and frustrated. And those are actually the only times Iran and Lebanon have crossed paths in World Cup qualifying. Now, the Lebanese national team doesn't have any players that are applying their trade in top leagues, but there are definitely some talented players to keep an eye on. And those players are Hilal Al-Hewe, Suni Saad, and Mohammad Kaduh. Hilal Al-Hewe was brought up in Germany, and he has the ability to play both wing positions. Suni Saad scored a goal in the previous match against Syria. He started his professional career with MLS club Sporting Kansas City, and he was previously capped for the United States at the U17 and U20 levels. Mohammad Kaduh had a brace in the win over Syria, and he showed that he can be very dangerous from long range. Mohammad Kaduh is definitely one of those players that cannot be given a lot of space on the pitch. As for head coach of Lebanon, Ivan Hashek, he has only been in charge since July 2021, but he has a coaching CV that includes stints with Shabab Al-Ahli and Fujairah of UAE and Al-Hilal of Saudi Arabia. Ivan Hashek doesn't have the best winning percentage, but he is definitely familiar with Asian football. Now, what does Iran have to do to be successful against Lebanon? Well, it's pretty simple. Let's check out today's keys to victory. Establish control in midfield and take away space from the wingers. Now, Iran is obviously favored going into this match, but if we learned anything about Lebanon from their 3-2 victory over Syria, it's that Lebanon can surprise you if you let your guard down. So the bottom line is that Iran must respect the Lebanese national team and play smart from start to finish. Okay, we all know the pressing issue on everyone's minds. And this is, of course, the situation that Dragan Skočić has excluded Mehdi Taremi from Iran's roster for these qualifiers against Lebanon and Syria. Now, how does this make any sense? Well, first of all, when talking numbers, Mehdi Taremi has already scored 26 goals for Iran in 54 appearances. And he has already scored 5 goals in 2022 World Cup qualification. And as for the final round alone, Mehdi Taremi has 2 goals and 2 assists. Now let's get to the details as to why Dragan Skočić did not call up Mehdi Taremi. Now, according to reports in the media, the story goes that Dragan Skočić was quoted as saying something along the lines that Iranian players aren't very tactical in terms of football. And we know this song and dance. Dragan Skočić said that his comments were misinterpreted by the media. Then there was a tweet from Mehdi Taremi on October 20th where he was quoted saying, "I have to say that in addition to technique and playing hard, Iranian players have a lot of understanding in terms of football knowledge and tactics. But unfortunately, the problems are elsewhere. Long live Iran." Now, from my point of view, I am absolutely furious with Dragan Skočić. I mean, he did not call up Mehdi Taremi, who was arguably the best player on Team Melli at this moment. And continuing on with this, Dragan Skočić has also created 2 big problems. Number 1, he has created an unnecessary distraction. And number 2, he has sent a very bad message to the locker room by excluding Mehdi Taremi. Next, let's play a little bit of devil's advocate. There are obviously some Iranian football fans that don't approve of Mehdi Taremi's tweet. But from my point of view, I have to support Mehdi Taremi in this situation because he did not mention Dragan Skočić by name in that tweet. He said the problems come from elsewhere. And we know that elsewhere can mean a lot of things. And now I've come to a point where I truly believe that Dragan Skočić should not be the head coach of Iran at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And for a while, I've heard other Iranian football fans saying that Skočić is a decent coach, but not good enough to be the head coach of the World Cup for Iran. And at this point, I actually have to finally agree with that thinking. Because the bottom line is that if Dragan Skočić is unable to keep control of the team during World Cup qualifying, I can already see plenty of problems unfolding at the 2022 World Cup. Now, what about you? What's your opinion on this controversy between Dragan Skočić and Mehdi Taremi? Leave a comment down below. Always looking forward to getting your input. And that's it, everybody, for this edition of Team Melli Talk. As always, really do appreciate the support. Make sure you get to our website, www.teammelitalk.com. Remember, this is your best source for the latest news on Team Melli, the national team of Iran. Make sure you find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know the handle, @Team Melli Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that notification button. See you on the next edition of Team Melli Talk, and go Iran.